The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Dave, New Delhi, like so many cities in the world, has a smog problem, big pollution problem. And they have come up with a very strange way to help cut pollution.
I'm curious.
Okay. Cars driven by men will be half banned. Now, let me explain.
Yeah.
As of, I suppose this was the first of the year, only men with odd-numbered plates will be allowed to drive private cars in New Delhi. Those with even numbers will have to wait till Saturday. I guess there's just this odd-even rotation, and it's based on plates, so you don't really need to do... Oh, and only men. Women, I guess, can drive whenever.
That's nice.
Does this make sense at all? I mean, it does seem like a very easy way.
No, this is not uncommon. I mean, there were certain days, I forget it, I believe it was in Paris or Amsterdam when I was there, and there was like a pollution warning. So number one, public transit was free to get people not to drive.
And no one could drive.
And you were only allowed to drive in based on the last number of your plate. You were allowed to drive in only if it was like, say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then other plate numbers are allowed to drive into the city limits on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then Sunday everybody could drive. There was something like that. And that's in a very Western European city, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess it's easy to enforce in a way because you just look at plates and you know, that's the easiest thing to spot. And there are some authorities here saying that they're surprised that people were actually following this. There was one, I believe, police officer who said, I would have imagined that I would have, stopped dozens of people in the first few hours, and that it was only one or two, and that people seem to be obeying. Well, maybe people are sick of breathing in that nasty shit. I don't know. But yet another city that is having trouble. I look at these pictures of this smog. I mean, it looks like fog, but it's not.
It's disturbing.
Just imagine having to living in a place where you have to breathe that in regularly.
I mean, I don't think it's that bad, but it can be pretty bad in LA on certain days.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, LA. I mean, I think is that the only city in the country that has that really nasty smog problem?
I think that there are probably industrial cities, smaller cities in the South that have the problems, but you just don't hear that much about them because it's smaller population.
Yeah, I guess that could be. Of course, LA is unique in that much of I don't know how much, a large portion of China's pollution comes over and kind of rests in that valley.
Right.
I guess a lot of that smog is not actually produced in Los Angeles.
Correct.
So that's got to be even worse when it's not your own mess. It's China's. What can you do? You can't mess with China.
Absolutely not. Unless you're North Korea.
They'll hack something, right? And then it's all over. Interesting story from Chicago here. Chicago is going to pay reparations to torture victims. Yes, Chicago has been torturing its citizens.
And we have been talking about the story for a while. Before it was even really a story, there were very few reports about it. We were talking about it. And it's funny how it goes from this never happened, we don't know anything about it, it's absolutely untrue, to we're going to be paying some settlements to the people that this happened to.
Well, here's the interesting part about this.
No admission.
What we were talking about was very recent. I mean, the past 10 years.
Right.
This is reparations to people from cases in the 70s and the 80s.
Ah.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that this has been happening nonstop for a very long time.
Or if you believe the party line, they say, yeah, this used to happen. We're going to take care of the people it happened to in the 70s and 80s, but it hasn't been happening since, which is hard to believe, understandably.
It does not seem to be the case, according to many, many people.
Right.
And I don't give a fuck what the police department or the Chicago administrators and city officials have to say about this matter, because of course they're going to deny it. I guess it's okay to admit that it happened 40 years ago.
Very different.
Yeah. So anyway, there's going to be a payout of about $5.5 million
Total.
total. The announcement was made by Rahm Emanuel himself. And I guess they see this as some type of way to help their, the PR situation. I
Rahm
guess.
Emanuel is having some real problems. As you know, Lewis, former TV director Natan Packman, my brother, is now working in Chicago in a civil rights organization. And just the problems that Rahm Emanuel is having, it's inconceivable that anyone would have guessed when he was just a Obama administration official that he would become mayor and have this level of insanity take place.
Yeah, I don't know if this just fell into his lap or he didn't know what he was getting into.
As far as this specific thing,
Of
of
lot
course,
of what
this
was going on.
predates him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of what might have been going on behind the scenes in Chicago. I mean, when you are... Now, is he from Chicago?
I don't remember. I think he, from a very young age, was involved with Chicago, but I don't remember if Rahm Emanuel is from Chicago.
All right. Well, I mean, when you're running for mayor, do they tell you, like, does the police chief come up and say, look, you might want to know that we torture people and at like black sites around the city?
How does that conversation go?
I doubt they tell you that. That being said, I don't like Rahm Emanuel. I think he's done a terrible job as mayor of Chicago.
Smart guy, though.
Oh,
not smart enough to stay out of scandals.
Doesn't mean you're a good guy.
Yeah.
By any means. Okay, so the torture, of course, was mostly of black people, took place under Commander John Burge. He was fired in '83, later convicted of lying about police torture in testimony from civil lawsuits. Rahm Emanuel said, "We stand together as a city to try and right those wrongs and bring this dark chapter of Chicago's history to a close." Now, this chapter is still open. It's a very long chapter.
He's trying to bring the chapter to a close. Trying.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing.
I don't think he's trying hard enough because, clearly not trying hard enough as considering what we talked about over the past year. Anyway, that's what's going on here. I'm sure there are some families that are happy about this. I guess it can't hurt the PR situation. I don't know. I don't know how many people are being paid out.
Yeah, we know the total amount. We don't really know the details of that. It's a headline. It's interesting. It is an admission that, it becomes harder to deny that it's going on now when you're admitting that it went on at some point. Although I get that they can stick to, oh yeah, this happened, but it's not happening anymore. We don't believe it, though.
Yeah. Moving on, here is a highly disturbing story. A Turkish firm has been busted selling fake life vests. And not only are they fake, but they soak up water and actually have the opposite effect.
Sounds like an anchor.
Yeah, they essentially act as an anchor. So what's been happening here now, I don't know if this is a case of people trying to make a quick buck,
right,
or people, malicious behavior if they want refugees to drown. I don't know. But I did read that one of the women making these vests was Syrian. Of the 4 workers, 2 actually were young Syrian girls. So it could just be a money thing. But anyway, this is what happens. They were basically kind of stuffing these life vests with sponge-like material. And of course, well, there you go. It adds to your weight. It gets soaked up. It has no buoyancy whatsoever at that point. They're also black, which I guess is actually kind of common because you may be trying to avoid, you don't want people to see you. The bright orange vests, you don't want the officials to see you if you're on an illegal boat being smuggled in, like trying to lay low. Not that has any effect on the color of the material would change anything really.
Right.
But I guess this isn't that uncommon. But it is estimated that people have drowned as a result of bad vests being sold. And I guess a properly made life vest could cost about $150 or up to $150 US.
That I did not know.
These are costing about $15 US. And I guess that, this article claims that there are people buying these knowing that they're poorly made and possibly, I don't know, possibly fake, I suppose you could say, if fake is even the right word, but buying them anyway just for peace of mind and just like thinking that they'll be better than nothing.
Right. When in fact it turns out they're worse than nothing in some cases.
Yeah. I guess the government raided one of these facilities, and that's what's going on. I don't know. What do you think about this whole thing?
It's absolutely horrible. I mean, it's taking advantage of people that are already prone to be taken advantage of, taking advantage of people with little means, taking advantage of people who are trying to improve their lives, who are in very vulnerable situations, and it's horrible. And it's not surprising because oftentimes the most vulnerable people are the ones targeted to be taken advantage of. Look at elder abuse and all the scams targeting elderly people. It's not surprising, sadly. I wish I was shocked by this.
Yeah. People, I guess, washed up on shore, dead, of course, with some of these vests, not taking them off, despite them not helping. But maybe when you are swimming for your life, it might not even occur to you that the vest is weighing you down.
Right.
You might think that it might be your clothing or something else. I don't know. Pretty crazy. I would guess that this is just about money, and that
For the sellers.
from the sellers, yeah, I would guess
It's not about drowning asylum seekers and refugees.
I doubt it, but how can we say for sure? Just don't know. Anything to add?
I will mention we had part 1 of the Reza Aslan long-form investigation on today's show. The full video with part 2 from tomorrow will be available in total today on YouTube. So for people who want to skip ahead and not wait until tomorrow, you can check out the entire thing. Lewis and I were talking earlier. We don't know what to expect as far as how it's going to be received. We know that there are many progressives who love Reza Aslan. We know that there are many progressives who see that Reza Aslan's apologetics can be dangerous and are probably going to like the critique that we issue in the video. I truly do not know what to expect, but we will know soon enough, I guess.
Yep, I think it's going to do very well. I think people who like what we have to say are going to watch it and share it. I think people who don't like what we have to say are going to watch it and share it. Will I use the term viral? I don't know. I hope so.
Wow.
I hope so.
All right.
I think it'll go viral.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.